Hey, everybody. Mark Stanislawski of Good Ideas Comics, and welcome to the Comic Cave in the heart of Michigan. I wanted to take a break from talking about some of the best or worst indie comics that you've ever read, and I wanted to talk about how the comic collecting hobby has changed over the 46 years since I first started reading collecting. You can see long boxes and books behind me that, I got to put away. I got a bag and board. I got bags and boards over there. Where is it? Right there. And I got to put that stuff away. Those are only my DC books. I have Marvel over there, indie stuff over there. But I wanted to talk about a few things. This will probably be a two-part video. I think I'm going to go over three things tonight. And then maybe next week I'll go over the last three things. And we'll get in depth on some stuff. The first thing I wanted to talk about is people using eBay as a price guide. Of course, when I first started collecting comics, there was no eBay. To be honest, there was really barely any internet to speak of. So you go to a comic store and you buy your books, you look through the back issue bins, and everything would be priced. It would be bag boarded, priced. I don't think I ever went to a comic book store or comic show, Comic-Con, somewhere. And I went to a lot in New York City where the books weren't priced. Yes, of course, they're using the guide, the price guide. Back then we had Overstreet price guide. So they're using the price guide as a guide, and that's what it is. It's in the name, price guide, to price their books. And, store owners, they know what to price it at. They know what'll sell at this dollar amount and what won't sell. Just like, now you look at price guides and you see all the Image 90s stuff, listed at $2, $3, $4 in the price guide, but you won't, I go to comic book store, my LCS here in Kalamazoo, and all that 90s Image stuff is in their 50-cent bin because the print run was so crazy high that the stuff's all over the place. So, but I still see claim sales, especially YouTube claim sales, where they're trying to sell that stuff for $3, $4, which is what the price guide says, and for some crazy reason people buy it. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if they're just, I don't know why they buy it. I mean, maybe they don't live close to a comic shop. They could be 2, 3, 4 hours away from a comic book shop. They don't really go there because it's too long of a drive. I can get that. Maybe they don't live in an area where comic shows, Comic-Cons come to. They're 3, 4 hours away from that. Okay, when you have no choice and you have to buy stuff online, whether it's through eBay, through claim sales on YouTube, through claim sales on Facebook. I find a lot of great cheap stuff on claim sales on Facebook. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I don't understand why people would buy a book that I'm getting for 50 cents, and they're paying $3, $4 for it. I mean, both books are, apples to apples. Both books are near mint. So it's not that one's near mint and one's in crap condition. That's not the way it is. They're both in near mint. So, but hey, good for them. They're dealers. They got to sell their stuff. They have to make money too. Totally get it. Totally understand it. But they're not I'm not going to buy the stuff, because I'm looking for the cheap stuff, and we're going to get into that probably later in part two also. Um, but I've heard stories on YouTube. I've heard stories of people going to, garage sales, yard sales, and then the owners are like, hey, don't lowball me. I know what I have. And they price their stuff off of eBay. Not really sure what they're looking at, if they're just looking at sold stuff, if they're just looking at the highest price that somebody put the books at, whatever. But 9.5 times out of 10, that stuff is just way too expensive. And because they don't know, they don't realize that it isn't just, you can't just use the price guide as the price. You have to know what sells for what. So yeah, a price guide is a guide. But again, back when I was buying comics, as an early teen, even into the 90s, there really was no eBay. People used Overstreet Price Guide, but they only used it for certain books, and even then, it was just a guide. It wasn't hardcore. The other thing that we didn't have back when I first started collecting comics was variant covers. Nowadays, it seems that's all there is variant covers. I went to the newsstand when I first started reading, collecting comics. Then I went to the direct. We had a comic store that opened up a couple years, 2-3 years after I started, because for 2-3 years, when I first started, and this is 1978, I went to the newsstand. That's where I got my comics. Marvel, DC. They didn't really have any independents to think of. They had Archie. I don't know if you want to call them an independent, but anyway, book came out. You had one cover, and that was it. The cover was the cover, and that's the cover you bought, and that's the book you bought. Of course, the 90s with the emergence of Image, and I think I don't even know. I don't even know if Image was the first ones that started the whole variant cover deal. And then Marvel and DC picked up on it because it worked, right? And I'm not averse to variant covers. I still, when I order my books now, I don't mind the variant covers because each issue has 3-4 variants, and I'm not including the ratio variants or any of that stuff. I don't buy ratio variants. No. I mean, maybe down the line, if I find a ratio variant for $5 in a box somewhere, I might pick one up. But for the most part, I get one copy. I don't spec anymore because my spec sense is terrible. I have back there, I have some boxes of doubles that I got way back in the 80s, and my spec sense was Camelot 3000 and Sword of the Atom, and yeah, that stuff still sells for like $1, $2. Nobody wants it. So yeah, I don't bother specking. But I'm digressing, but back to the variant covers. I don't mind, because when I order, and I look at the variant covers, the 3 or 4 or whatever, and if I see a cover that I like better than cover A, I'll pick that cover up. If I see a cover from an artist that I like, Adam Hughes, I'll pick that up. Of course, John Burns retired, and all the guys that I grew up, all the artists that I grew up loving, the John Byrne, the George Perez, they're either retired or passed on. But yeah, and especially a number one issue. Number one issues have more variants than you know what to do with, right? Look at Dynamite. Dynamite's putting out some great stuff. They really are. I I don't know if they have to have 20 variant covers for every single issue. Um, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine that they're probably spending more money just to get these artists to draw variant covers than they're probably getting back. I mean, I don't even know. Maybe they aren't. That's why they keep doing it, right? They got to be making money from all of the variant covers if they just keep doing it. That makes sense, right? But yeah, no, I don't mind the variant covers. It gives me a choice, and I don't mind having a choice. Um, and who knows, down the line, you get a variant cover that takes off for some reason. Not that I'm ever going to sell it, because right now I'm only reading and collecting the stuff that I want to read. I don't spec. So the other thing we're going to talk about, probably the last thing, and this is going to be kind of a quick video. I think the next video is going to be a little bit longer because we're going to get into some stuff that kind of burns my biscuits a little bit, but and first appearances versus first cameo appearances. And I know this is being I still see posts arguing this. But back then, when I first started collecting 70s, 80s, we didn't care. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was because I was a kid. I mean, I was a young teenager, but still, we didn't care about first appearance versus first cameo appearance versus whatever. I mean, and now, there's issues with that now, right? You know, X-Men Annual, what is that? 14 or whatever it was is the first appearance of Gambit, but X-Men 266 is first appearance of Gambit. So which is it? And from what I understand, the X-Men Annual isn't a cameo because he's in the book. He's in there quite a few panels. He has a speak, he talks. So, and I think the whole argument is that both those books came out at about the same time. So people are having an issue. And I saw a YouTube video, and I'm not going to mention any names. So, but he made a video and he said, oh, I got, X-Men Annual first appearance of Gambit. And then a week later, another video came out. Oh, I got X-Men 266 first appearance of Gambit. And I just laughed at myself. And I commented on his video that, yeah, I'm glad to see you got both first appearances of Gambit. But it's ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous. Just like first Spider-Man Black Suit, between Marvel Team Up and ASM 252, because they both came out in the same month, so it's a tie. So that's not too bad. At least they say, hey, it's a tie. I don't mind that, but I mean, when we bought a book and reread it, at least for me, to me, it was just a new character. It was like, oh wow, first Bloodsport. Oh, Bloodsport, that's a cool character. I don't know, I can't say we, but I didn't really pay too much attention to first appearances, and I knew nothing about first cameos versus first appearances. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just an old guy, a relic from a world that doesn't exist anymore, obviously, and but it's also, I understand that they use this stuff, dealers use it, right? Because it stretches out the desirability of books. So, I mean, they're in this to sell books and make money. So instead of just having one book that they can say, hey, here's first appearance of Wolverine, well, now you have 2 books or 3 books, right? You can say, here's the first cameo of Wolverine. Here's the first full appearance of Wolverine. Here's the first cover of Wolverine. Here's, so now you're stretching it out. Now, instead of one book, you have a bunch of books that you can sell and you can make desirable. Of course, some first appearances and that people come up with is just is just crazy ridiculous. First X-23 in a test tube. I mean, come on, man. You know, first of all, the writer has come out, from what I understand, the writer's come out publicly and says, yeah, no, that was never our intention. That has nothing to do with it. And I think I saw the panel somewhere, and it looked more like a number 23 than an X-23. But dealers are selling this book as first X-23 in a test tube, and people are buying it for money. And it just blows my mind. I mean, I just sit here and I laugh to myself. I mean, because I don't buy that stuff. You know, I don't read X-Men. I don't buy X-Men. Back in the day, I did. I had X-Men, what, from probably 120 to 215 or something like that, and then it got too convoluted. It got too big, you know. And I had a budget back then. I was just a kid, you know, so I had to decide, okay, you know, instead of spending my entire budget on X-Men books, I want to buy all this other stuff. So I basically sold all my X-Men stuff to the comic shop that I went to at the time, got store credit, and just was buying stuff off of that store credit. So I don't buy any X-Men. I don't buy Wolverine. I don't buy any mutant stuff, because it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. For me, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just my opinion. All this stuff that we say in this videos are just my opinion. Obviously, your mileage is going to vary. You know, you'll like stuff, you'll hate stuff too. But yeah, it's nutty, and then that kind of irks me a little bit too. You know, the first appearances versus the cameos, and I get it, but you know, I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. If anything, it's just going to get worse, because they're just going to keep trying to come up with new ways, new appearances. And here's another case. Spider-Man titles like Web of Spider-Man, there were a lot of inventory stories in the earlier issues of Web of Spider-Man. And an inventory story is a story that, hey, you know, the editorial got kind of behind a rock and they need to put out a book. So they had these other stories in a drawer that usually like new artists, not professional artists that they had, the freelancers that they always chose from. You know, maybe they pick, hey, you know, draw this up for me. You know, you got some talent. Let's see what you can do with this script. And it was an inventory story, so they would take that, they would publish that. And I see, you know, hey, first appearance of, you know, the Stalker from the Stars. Well, yeah, it's his first appearance. It's his only appearance, because it was just an inventory story, but they're not divulging that information. They're just saying, hey, first appearance of this character, get it, $3, $4, whatever it is, whatever they sell it for, and people eat it up. I mean, apparently they don't care that you never saw that character again. And it's crazy. It's nutty to me. Again, I'm just an old guy who. Yeah, I kind of miss the old days. Sure, I do. You know, you can go to the comic store and you just had, you know, one cover of each, and you pick your Spider-Man book and your Batman book and your Superman book and whatever, and you plunk down your money and you went home and you read it. And then, you know, for me, I definitely read it because I am a reader first and foremost. And then, yeah, you know, I bag and board them. I try to take care of them as best I can, because I understand that, especially now, the value that is coming to comic books. And at this point, I just want to complete runs and have something to leave my grandkids, so that they can, you know, at that point, when I'm gone, and my grandkids have it, they can read the books too and enjoy them. Or if none of my grandkids ever get into comics, they can sell them. You know, they can sell them if they want. I mean, I'll be dead, so I'll just have to come back and haunt them if they do sell them. But I think that'll do it for this part. We touched on a few things that weren't too bad. But stay tuned for the second part, because the second part's going to get kind of dicey as we go over a few things that I don't agree with, and I'll never agree with. And well, we're going to find out what those are in part 2 coming up next week. So we'll see you in the funny pages.